All right, so this tutorial is to help you advance your skills with one-point perspective drawing. So the last set of drawings that we did were just simple boxes. They were looking straight at the box and then having the sides of the box recede back in space. Well, for this assignment, you are going to use some common shapes or forms. And I call them common. I guess they're basically simple forms, nothing too complex or detailed. And this is what a finished piece would look like. There is a vanishing point. There are 10 different shapes that get turned into forms. And then there are the converging or receding lines that all go back to the vanishing point. So the idea that we're working with is if we are looking at something straight on like this, and this object were, let's say, below us, below our eye level, then you would be able to see a little bit of the top and some of these insides, and then maybe the side as it goes back to the vanishing point. So how to set up your paper today, you're first going to do a title, 1-point perspective. We're going to call this 10 common forms. And then, of course, we'll want to date it, and you'll want to write your name too. So just so we know what this assignment is in your sketchbook and you know what to turn in. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to put a vanishing point, and I'm going to put it, I can put it anywhere on the paper, honestly. I'm going to put it about in the middle. So there it is. I would make it pretty clear and obvious. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to put a horizon line in. Now, the horizon line just helps me think about, as I'm drawing these, are these objects above me and I can see the bottom of the objects, or are the objects below me and then I can see the top? Or are these objects on my eye level and then therefore I can only see like one side or the other? So to start with, you can think of whatever shapes you want. We're not going to do boxes anymore because you already did a box, but they are generally geometric shapes. These are all different ideas. They're not, I do want you to include some that have curves and then also some that might have a cutout. So one for sure that is good to practice with is a circle. Just like the last drawing, each one of the faces of these objects is about the size of a quarter. I am going to do letters, like block letters are actually a pretty good thing to practice with. So I'm going to do a T. I do recommend as you start out to have things that have sharp corners on them, but then also things that are circular so you can practice with a variety. So I'm going to go down here and draw. And this is just like a random shape. I do like a little stair step thing. I'm going to make a cutout in that one. So choose 10 objects, just basic shapes, and then we're going to make them recede back in space or have depth. So once you're done with that, you can pause, finish your 10 drawings, and then come back and I'll show you what's next. All right, so the next step is to draw the converging lines back to the vanishing point. And when we do this, we have to think about all edges or sides of this shape. So if I have an F, this is the letter F, and I am looking at, this is the face, I'm looking at that straight on, and the part that recedes, or the depth that goes back in space, since this is above and to the right, I see this side, and then I'm going to see a little bit of the bottom, bottom, bottom. So we have to start to turn these into 3D shapes, or forms actually. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. This is anything with square corners or 90-degree angles will probably be the easiest to start with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot my ruler on my vanishing point, and I am going to start to pivot, pivot, pivot till it touches the outer corner of my object. And then I'm going to keep going. There's another corner. So anytime I have a corner change in the shape, I am drawing a receding line or converging line back to the vanishing point. These are not parallel on my drawing. These are all, they're like hands on a clock. So the hand is pivoting. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, this is going infinitely back in space. What I have to do is decide how deep that shape is, or how far back it goes in space. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use my parallel lines. So this is the top front of the shape, the top and the front. So I'm going to line it up. It's horizontal. I'm going to push it back. It is now horizontal still. That's how deep I want it to be. And I'm going to draw that cutoff line. So I'm going to look at the next segment of my drawing. It goes straight up and down. Again, I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to pull it back until it meets that other cutoff line. And I'm keeping it vertical. So these are still parallel. So then what does my shape do next? It goes to the side, horizontal, then it goes parallel, again vertical, and then horizontal, and then vertical. So I have each one of these are a different angle. They go back to the vanishing point, my receding lines. This is the front edge of my object. Okay, the back edge, hopefully you'll be able to see this. The back edge, in this case, is parallel, or we can also think about it as it echoes that. So this line here is echoed right there. It's just a little smaller. So it goes horizontal, my echo line is horizontal. It goes vertical, my echo line is vertical. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. So the front line is echoed in the back line. Now I'm going to shade. So you're going to shade the receding part. Now this is a little different than the introduction we got on linear perspective, because when we talked about ways to create optical perspective, things that feel like they're farther away from us, when we were looking at the mountains get lighter as they go farther away from us. Well, this is not very deep space. So what we're doing is we're going to make the farther part of the object darker, and it is going to lighten as it comes forward. So I'm going to make this lighter. So this is going to be darker in the back, lighter up front. I want to maintain contrast between these though. So I'm using a pretty quick transition. Darker, lighter. Darker, lighter. Okay. So don't stress too much about shading when you have pretty complex forms like this, but you should put value on the part that recedes back in space. All right, let's look at this in a curved shape. So a curved shape, I don't have the corners to go from. So like if I were to do the T, I could draw from the corner, the corner, the corner. Ooh, I don't have a corner there. I'm gonna go down to here, here. Notice my ruler is pivoting up here. I'm gonna stop my line when it goes through my original drawing. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this, but I have corners to go off. Well, on this, I don't have corners. I have all curves. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pivot my ruler, and I am going to pivot it till it touches the very outside. I think in math this is called a tangent, and I'm going to draw a line that goes to the vanishing point, a receding line. I'm going to do that from this side. All right, the cutoff. The cutoff needs to echo. This is the part of the shape or form I am going to echo. Oftentimes, beginning artists will say, oh, well, that's a curve. I'm just going to draw a curve. Well, this and that are not the same kind of curve. It needs to echo that curve. So this is a fine spot to start, but really I am going to kind of go back and forth here and here till I get that echoing curve. So this back part is closest to the vanishing point, and that echoes the front part. Now I'm going to shade. This is a curved shape form. It's going to be darker on the side, lighter, darker. So that's one way. The other way to think about it, because it is rounded, this is farther back, so that could be darker, and then it could be lighter as it comes forward. So that is echoing. Let's go over to this one. This one's pretty difficult to figure out how to do the cutoffs because there are straight and curved areas. So I like to think about the original shape. There's the front side of the original shape. So my cutoff line needs to echo that. So my original shape goes vertical, so I'm going to do a vertical. Then my original shape goes horizontal, I'm going to do horizontal. Here's the tricky part. Now my shape curves up. So what am I trying to think about here? I am trying to look at this distance and that distance. I'm trying to keep the same amount of distance here. Okay, so it curves out, then it goes horizontal. I'm sorry, vertical, then it goes horizontal. All right, now I'm going to pick up over on this side. Well, this is a little tricky. See how these are about the same distance? So that means the cutoff line would also be, so that and that are the same distance back. That goes over, horizontal, and then curve. So horizontal and then curve. All right, how are we going to shade this? Well, the shading is going to help us see the different parts. So I am going to shade this part darker. So it's the bottom of the shape, and that one's going to be lighter. Lighter, darker. So I want to see these different planes. So this is a plane and it's flat. That plane is curved. So what do I do next? I erase erase, I didn't do that on my other one, but I am going to erase the converging lines that are not part of the finished form. And I'm going to take a look at that and make any adjustments that I might need. All right, so this will get erased. So do your own shapes, then draw your converging lines back, and then do your cutoff lines. And your cutoff lines echo the original shape. So if I was doing this, where's my cutoff line gonna be, or what is it gonna look like? Well, here's the front of the shape. The back of the shape is going to echo it. Now, you know when echoes go back farther in space, they get smaller, right? So this one is a little bit smaller than that one, but it echoes the front. And then as I add shading, I'm generally going to use transitions for curved surfaces or along the part of the object that's farther away. I'm going to use a darker value. So there it is. Each shape you draw should be a different challenge. If you're going to do a cutout, let's look at what this would be. So let's say this is going to echo here. This is going to echo here. There's a cutout in there, so I'm going to actually do that echoes there. So please ask for help if you need it. If there's other people that you follow on YouTube or you know of a good method for one-point perspective, go ahead and find other resources. But you are going to complete 10 common forms, shading the part that recedes back in space.